Yo, what's up? It's Jason. I'm back with another video and another ranking video. It's been a little while since I've been doing some rankings. I'm going to attempt to get back into the swing of things with it. And a lot of times being led by the Sunday sessions where I join Richard, Chris, Jorgen, lately Tommy, and whoever else joins in on Calvin Wazoo's weekly countdown basically of some of the best records that everybody has for each year. And this Sunday we just wrapped up 2015, so I thought, hey, I will do a video now of my top 15 of 2015. I wanted to narrow it down more to 12, but truth be told, when I check my Discogs, I actually have over 400 releases for the year of 2015. So I am not making that up. That seems almost scary even to me. But when you have a collection as large as I do, that is totally, totally possible. And it is. It is what it is. Now, 2015, a really good year, actually, in terms of techno. I think it was a really pivotal year in techno, especially in my listening. I mean, I had already launched my low noise label in 2013 with some more experimental side, but really in 2015, I think is where it kind of all comes to sort of an apex. I mean, it hasn't been a pivotal techno year like this since maybe Jeff Bills was Jeff Mills was rocking the bells back in like 96 or 97 or Richie Houghton was inventing sort of second wave minimal sleek minimalism in the very late 90s, early 2000s. But in 2015, there was this really great label, and I'm going to show a lot of it in this top 15, and that's the L.I.E.S label, Long Island Electronic Systems. I think one of the forefathers of the whole lo-fi movement, but also experimental weirdo techno, just cool ass shit. I know, like, they've since, or even then, they were doing some sort of oddball house stuff as well, not just techno, experimenting different sounds. And really, I think after 2015, 2016, they got a little bit heavier into albums as well as singles. But I think 2015 is just like a real peak year, not only for that label, but for that style of grungy, grimy, underground techno that I hadn't really heard in a long time. I mean, there was Gabber in the old days, but that was really fast and repetitive and really rave related. This was sort of a weird or meandering kind of thing, but we'll get into some of it as I show some examples. So why don't I start with a L.I.E.S release? Coming in at number 15, I got this EP. It's almost like a single. It's really just 3 tracks. This is Person of Interest. And at this point, there wasn't a lot of singles by the L.I.E.S label. There it is, the logo, that had picture covers, but this is one that has a picture cover for a single. And yeah, it's What You Think You Want, Keep It Moving, and my 97s by Person of Interest. Just really interesting, kind of meandering stuff. Not super fast tempo, but yeah, techno, I guess you had to call it. So Person of Interest, kind of a mysterious character. I don't know a lot about this character at all when I'm looking them up on Discogs, whatever, but it's probably a pseudonym of somebody that I have other records of. Number 14, stepping outside of techno. This is ranked a little bit low. Maybe I'm going to regret this later on. It's a pretty decent album. I don't think it's like this big standout album for this artist necessarily, but this is Drew McDowell's release that year, Collapse. And Drew McDowell, for those Coil fans out there, will know he's a member of Coil. So this is solo work, and it's on the Days label, D-A-I-S. I think, is that label out of L.A.? It's a U.S.-based label. I think it's even clear vinyl. Just a quiet listen, kind of mature, experimental here, musique concrète, not banging and distorted or nasty industrial by any means. Some lyrics or words here about the ceiling is recording unnatural channel, convulse and collapse. I think there's some violin on this thing too. Violin on Through is out by Hero Cone. Recorded in Brooklyn, New York in 2015 for the Days label. So there you go. That's the insert. Yeah, Drew McDowell. This is kind of a quiet listen, more in the ambient tip, I would say, but a cool record. And that's in my top 15. That's number 14. Now, my number 13, coming in at 13, we're going to go back to some techno territory. And a label is a little bit off the radar for me, to be honest. I got a couple of things on this label, and I think I just sort of wrote it off as kind of like more techno, um, maybe dark, interesting techno. But wow, this one really blows me away. It's called In the Dark Again. Is the name of the label, and this is a comp. It's volume 3 on this label. I had to include it, even though it's a comp. I haven't been including a lot of compilations in these rankings, but it is that good, people. I didn't really know any of the artists except for Frack, which you're going to see later in this video. Frack out of Sweden. So European label. And I actually snagged this one used in Toronto for like $9. And it's super solid. So one side's got like this kind of Blade Runner kind of style, Giorgio Moroder kind of synth line going on. The other side, it's got some sort of dark synth, almost goth tinged techno, if I was going to put it that way. But yeah, just solid release. 4 tracks in total on that one. And In the Dark Again. There you go. So that is 13. Number 12. Ranking out the bottom of the 12 here. We got a L.I.E.S release. I told you there's going to be a lot of L.I.E.S. Long Island Electronic Systems. Label's still going. I think the owner, Ron Morelli, moved actually to Paris at some point around this time or shortly thereafter. But it started up in New York. And a lot of these artists, a fair amount are from the States, New York area, some from Chicago as well. Bookworms is the next guy. Can't remember exactly his other name, his real name. I guess this is a pseudonym. Does it say on here? I think it's Nick something. I'm feeling like. But yeah, L.I.E.S. And the singles, it says, are already getting distroed from at this point from Rush Hour Record Store in Amsterdam. So I guess the owner just thought pick up and move over to Europe, where there's a large market for stuff. But yeah, this is more interesting techno, just taking some more risks and not like, your standardized stuff, kind of analog sounding or hardware recorded, not software recorded stuff. So yeah, very cool EP by Bookworms, just called Bookworms. That is L.I.E.S number 65. Number 11. Well, this is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum to that Drew McDowell that I showed earlier. This is loud, crunchy, and heavy as hell. This is Miguel Alvarino, and Participation EP. This is just a totally sick EP. It's a really real anomaly. I don't think I ever see anybody show this or talk about this too much, but he did some other stuff. I think he did the Enrique single on Bank, another New York-based label, underground techno, crunchy industrial techno, and this one crunches. I mean, this is raw as fuck. I think some metal people would maybe even dig the stomp of this thing. Yeah, it's got a real slow stomp. It's almost like gabber, like I was saying earlier. The old days in the 90s, we had techno style called gabber, which was like really hard, pounding in your face, crazy shit. But that was like usually 150 BPMs or whatever, super fast. This is more, I want to say 120, 125, kind of slower pace, but heavy as hell. Just good stomp on that one. Miguel Alvarino. Yeah, and it even says on this single, a palate cleanse, question mark. So there you go. Cleanse the palate. So we're down to the top 10 now. Let me just double check here. Yep. Top 10. Still a lot of techno to go. Some experimental stuff. A hardcore record in here. And also a pretty classic sounding speed metal record too. So hang on to your hats for that. But next at number 10, we're going to go with this artist who I think is from Belgium. Mopa Mazzachetti. Mazzachetti is definitely part of his real name, but the Mopa I think is the alias here, and it's on Mannequin Records. Man, this record is super fuzzy. The logo's super fuzzy on this thing. Just almost makes you think it's like a bootleg or something, but really cool EP. A lot of crazy shit going on here. Why are you talking about you? And another Sinister Century Psyched. Yeah, they're having fun. This is a great single. I ended up getting 2 copies of this untitled single, it's called. And just really cool. Kind of synth heavy, techno, a bit industrial influence maybe. So that's a Machete. Now this next artist I'm going to show 2 in this top 15, which I think I might be breaking my rule, or first time I've done that so far, but it's that good, people. And I feel compelled to do it because this artist has not really released anything since. I mean, I don't think I have any other MR releases afterwards. This is an all black label, but you won't have to take all my word for it. So this is the insert card that came with it. Kind of a Russian hat wearing looking dude or something. Yeah, MR is the name of the artist. No Tag, No Food EP. This one is really, really good. It's on Detail Sound label, and the artist name is I think it's Billy Werner. Mastered in Berlin, 300 copies. And he's got a quote here from Brian Eno saying, "An immersion was really the point. We were making music to swim in, to float in, to get lost inside." Yeah, so come and take a trip with MR. This is just a killer record when it came out. It's actually got a little hype sticker or info sticker from Rough Trade in London. This record is proper electronic weapon. From slowed down pounding impulse to total burner. No Tag, No Food is suspended rhythm of atmosphere. It's the third 12-inch from Philadelphia-based MR. So there you go. Now, I learned something new today. I've probably read that before, but because it was mastered, I guess the label is probably based in Berlin. I thought maybe the artist was European as well, but it's from Philly. And yeah, really cool last release. No Tag, No Food, MR. Again, kind of like a crunchy, really distorted acid techno on there. And a variety of other things too, because it's not, it does have a little bit of a mix to it. Now, where are we next? I lost my count already, which happens every time I do these. Number 8. Number 8, coming out of Chicago, but also closely aligned with the whole Long Island electronic systems L.I.E.S scene, is Bo Wanzer. And here he's doing a collabo between Bo Wanzer and Corporate Park. Not sure if Corporate Park is from somewhere in the States. This is the insert that comes with it, CPBW. So Bo Wanzer has some stuff on the L.I.E.S label, but he also kind of has his own label or self-release. I've got a bunch. This one's a pretty cool one. Cool, moody, deep sort of tracks on here. Again, kind of lo-fi, heavy on the reverb, etc. Just fun listen, cool listen. And I think he's like a radio DJ or something in Chicago, among other things, doing like underground alternative kind of shows. And yeah, the musical taste definitely comes in here. A lot of interesting vibes going on. Some industrial influences maybe as well, and post-punk even. Post-punk techno? I don't know. CP Bo Wanzer. Really cool album from 2015. Number 7. Okay, we can't go there yet, so we're gonna have to just switch one up here for number 7. Yeah, why don't we go here? We're gonna go with the owner of L.I.E.S, Ron Morelli. I mentioned him earlier already. He's the founder, owner of the L.I.E.S label that I really, really dig, and especially in 2015, it was just kind of connecting with some of the stuff I was wanting to put out with Low Noise as well. So just on that underground tip. Now this is not actually on his label. This is on another label. So he seems to do his solo stuff on a different label. And in this case, he's doing it on Hospital Productions out of New York. So some people may recognize that label, Hospital Productions, which is, of course, Vatican Shadows, Dominic Fervo's label. Well known for doing a lot of like dark industrial stuff, ambient experimental things. And that kind of describes this album by Ron Morelli as well, called A Gathering Together. It's dark and murky at times, and some sort of drone and noise a little bit. Just a really interesting listen. I think I prefer this over the Drew McDowell of the two sort of experimental picks for this year, 2015. Not something I grab and listen to often, but when I do, I am pleasantly surprised. So enjoyable experimental record there by Ron Morelli. So that leaves us. Are we in the top 5 yet? No, we're in number 6. Number 6 is going to be an artist I already showed. So this is so weird for me, showing 2 artists in the same top 10. I think I might have done that before. I don't know. MR. We're back to MR, which we now know is from Philadelphia. But what has he been up to lately is what we want to know. Billy Werner. Yeah, I just love this stuff, man. I was just eating this shit up. This one is called Let That Shit Breathe. Well, that's the first track anyway, so I usually call it EP, that one. It's L.I.E.S number 48. Peak L.I.E.S? Maybe. Probably should do a ranking video of L.I.E.S. I'm sure I have well over 20 L.I.E.S records, maybe pushing around 30 from the label. But yeah, this is a standout single for sure. It would be in my top 10. Yeah, more heavy, industrial-ish, but not too industrial. Techno and house, just really cool shit. Next, similar styles. This is getting repetitive, right? Number 5, we are going to go UK side now for a single and a label. The TTT, the Trilogy Tapes label. Also a really cool label that just popped up, it seems, in the mid-2010s. And not sure what number this one is actually on the label. I've got a bunch. 36. My eyesight. Chemotex. Yeah, there's quite a bit of debate online on the Discogs page about where this cover came from and was anyone injured in it. Apparently it's a film still from a 1970s gore splatter movie. I think Gore of Tex or something. I'd have to look that up, but this is Chemotex. And it's actually a pseudonym for Marcos Cabral, who has recorded on L.I.E.S. I think he's actually a little bit underrated because his stuff is really quite good. And this one is one of the best. It's got some really interesting tracks on this one. It's like a 4-track EP. I'm like looking at the record, but it doesn't say any info. This label likes to sometimes they like to put all the info, yep, they did that again. Put all the info on the spine, which you will not read either. But they literally have the song titles on the spine. So Tulsa, Delta City, Music for Security, and Lawrence are the track titles of this Chemotex. Number 4, getting very close. I mentioned this band a little bit earlier. Kind of a new discovery for me. I did not discover this in 2015, but maybe a couple years later I started getting some singles by these guys. And they actually have a long discography. They're from Sweden. Frack. Look them up. Really cool band. More of a band. There's like 2 or 3 guys, I guess. And so they kind of seem to go back and forth between sort of underground, experimental techno, and industrial leanings and EBM a little bit as well. So that's a little bit what you get on this single too, which is called Primitive Drums on the Lux Rec label. Lux, I think this is a Swiss label. It's definitely an import and not the cheapest thing to get. But yeah, this is a cool record. This is one of my favorite by Frack, but I do have about 4 or 5 from them. And yeah, distributed by Rush Hour out of Amsterdam again. But yeah, Frack Primitive Drums. I think this is kind of where it started for me with Frack. I got this one. Love the cover. The packaging is cool with Lux Rex. And then I ordered more stuff by this outfit. They had to be in the top 5. Okay, next we are going to go into some metal, I think. Some Canadian metal. This is a really fun release. Just sort of picked it up used one day, found it in a shop in Toronto. I don't know if the band's from Toronto or not, but they're super um, cool old school style metal. Gatekrashor is the band. I think I actually have a cassette by them too. This is on the Hard and Heavy Records out of Brampton, Ontario, so not far from Toronto. Speed Mafia, you got the speed metal logo here. This is kind of more speed metal than thrash, I guess. I think one track just completely, or one side just starts off with a guitar solo. You know you're in for a hell of a lot of fun just off that. Yeah, this is a killer record. Again, like if you're into like trad metal or old school thrash and speed metal, Gatekrashor is the band for you. Don't know if they're still going or what they're up to, but really glad I picked up this record, and it's been fun ever since I got it. Number 2, I'm gonna dip back into techno just quickly because this is that significant, that important. Maybe the top 2 releases by this artist on L.I.E.S again, but the artist is called Susing, which you can't really see there, but spelled Tzusing. He's from Malaysia, I believe, and been living in China, Shanghai, Taipei as well, Taiwan, overseas, and doing some really cool stuff. Now, I don't like a lot of the newer stuff from Susing, but this era when he's first coming out, this one's called A Name at a Place Part 2, and includes the excellent what is it, 4 Floors of Whores on side A, as well as ODD, Kai Tang, and Frankincense and Myrrh. Yeah, just all over it. Super industrial techno, kind of throwback to EBM style. Yeah, it's got that dance beat. You know, it's got that techno beat, but the heavy kind of industrial drums. Often uses cool samples too. I don't know if this is the one. Or if it's a different one. It might be this one that has the sample from Network, Ned Beatty and Network, talking about sort of global control of the capitalist system, etc. It's all there. The whole package is there for you. But yeah, his later stuff lately, I think he actually got picked up by a Nike commercial or something. I feel like I read that or saw that on Instagram. But his later stuff, he kind of gets into some more almost trap hip hop kind of beats, I think. But this early Susing stuff absolutely kills, totally nails the industrial techno thing in the best ways. Good EP on L.I.E.S. My number 2. All right, number 1. Let's not drag it out any longer. 15 records for 2015, and I'm gonna go with hardcore at the top because I've been kind of in a hardcore mood lately, so it's really affecting this top 15. I didn't even own this record in 2015. A lot of the techno stuff I definitely owned in 2015 and still rock it to this day. We're almost getting on 10 years, right? This is a band out of East Coast Canada from Halifax, Alienation. And I'm sure Mike from Uncommon Pallor knows this band, or this record, maybe even has this record. This is the 2015 mini LP. And it just totally slams. Really good hardcore punk. It's on a San Francisco label called Warthog Speak. And I think it includes at least one member of the Bougie Boys, which I think is another kind of big East Coast hardcore band from Halifax. There's the Inner. Yeah, just good straight up hardcore punk. And I really like the vocals too. They're kind of screamy. But a good mid-range screamy. Yeah, just it's a great listen. The album cover is a little bit kind of minimalist, and you're not quite sure what you're going to get. And in fact, I think you actually get a cover of a Youth Brigade song on here is what you get. So, Alienation. I'm going to go with this as my number 1 for 2015. Thanks for sitting all the way through this. If you did get all the way through this, congrats to you. I'll be back with some more rankings, maybe not 15. See you guys soon.